Hi, I'm Hazel Dukes, and you are watching the 85th Annual New York State Convention.
Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, "A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus." President Hazel Dukes has dedicated her life to human rights and equality. She is an active and dynamic leader known for her selfless and devoted track record for improving the quality of life for all New Yorkers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our New York State Conference President, Dr. Hazel N. Dukes, with her 2021 President's Message.
Welcome, delegates, alternates, observers, friends, supporters, and sponsors to the 85th NAACP New York State Conference Convention. As we gather virtually today and tomorrow, keep our theme in the forefront of your thinking, always fighting forward. I don't have to tell you of some of the challenging things that are happening in our country and in the world today. You hear it on the news every day. Our mission at the New York State Conference is to stay positive in the face of adversity and to continue to make progress in our towns, counties, and cities, in Albany through our representatives in Washington and through our determined activism. This pandemic has changed the ways in which we get together, but it has not slowed us down. It has, however, revealed many of the inequities experienced by people of color in healthcare, education, housing, and in the criminal justice system. To move forward, we demand equity in all these areas. We are fighting for equity every single day. Despite all these challenges, we have made great progress over the past year. We have been fighting for fiscal equity for decades. We have sued the city and state. We have marched. We have agitated. And this year, we have been successful in getting what is called foundation aid, unrestricted aid to school districts, fully funded, $1.3 billion per year for 3 years, and the education from funds from the stimulus money from Washington that we secured will be used to supplement, not supplant, New York State aid to school districts. This is a transformation change in education funding. It took far too long for it to happen, but we finally did it. And our Lifted Parent Leadership Academy continues to make parents and family involvement central to the education of our children in schools throughout the state, as well as to get parents more engaged in keeping their children healthy. We have been fighting for physical equity for decades. We have sued the city and state. We have marched, we have agitated, and this year we have succeeded in getting what is called foundation aid, unrestricted aid to school districts, fully funded, $1.3 billion per year for 3 years. And the education funds from the stimulus money from Washington that we secured will be used to supplement, not supplant, New York State aid to school districts. This is a transformational change in education funding. It took far too long for it to happen, but we finally did it. And our Lifted Parents Leadership Academy continues to make parents and family involvement central to the education of our children in schools throughout the state, as well as to get parents more engaged in keeping their children healthy. It helps that we have a state legislature that is no longer divided against itself and much more united in advancing the priorities of average people. In the current redistricting process, we're working for districts that will represent our people even more fairly, especially as New York lost one House seat in Congress. While we did a pretty good job in getting New Yorkers to complete their census form, it was heartbreaking to see that if we had found just a handful of more people to count, we would not have lost that seat. But as the new maps are drawn for the House, for the state legislature and for local city councils, we will be vigilant to see that they are drawn fairly. One of our legislative priorities is to amend state laws to count prison in their home districts rather than in the upstate prisons where they are incarcerated, especially since they cannot vote while they're in prison. This change will alter the political map in New York considerably for the better. And we will continue to press for voting reforms so that it is the easiest method of voting during the pandemic become permanent. Tropical Storm Ida devastated our region on the heels of the remedies of Hurricane Henry. But most people who paid for their lives during the storms were poor people of color, living in basement apartments with no means of escape from the flash flooding. This is intolerable. Yes, we need more affordable housing, but it must always comply with safety standards, and these apartments did not. The city must step up inspections and make the necessary modifications to ensure that these places are safe. We got to defend our new rent laws right up to the Supreme Court, if necessary, just as we work to extend the eviction moratorium here in New York when the Supreme Court overturned the federal law. But we need larger public investment in affordable housing. We oppose proposals being floated to privatize NYCHA. The city, with the state and federal governments, need to take responsibilities for making our public housing developments decent and safe to live in. And we hope that new mayors and city councils throughout the state use this moment to create truly affordable housing, not just set aside small percentage of high-end real estate development for low-income people. We finally legalized marijuana in this state after decades of the law against it being applied almost entirely to youth of color, even though marijuana use is highest among white people. Many young lives were ruined when police made those marijuana arrests while stopping and frisking black and brown men. Those convictions need to be pardoned so that they can get fresh starts. And we worked hard to ensure that as marijuana become a legal business, that a fair percentage of that business have to go to people of color, including the former incarcerated. The pandemic has taught us that health care is not just about visits to doctors and stays in hospitals. It needs to expand our commitment to public health so that people will respond better to the needs, for instance, to get fully vaccinated, but also to willingly comply with vaccine mandates, mask mandates, or anything else that need to be done to get this plague behind us. We come into this period in our history with a new governor, Kathy Hochul, and a new lieutenant governor in the person of Harlem's own Brian Benjamin. We have a black Speaker of the Assembly, Carl Hastie, and a black Senate Majority Leader, Andrew Stewart Cousins. For the first time, a black man, Alvin Bragg, will be the district attorney in Manhattan. We urged him to follow example of the DA in Brooklyn, Eric Gonzalez, and to work to overturn all the wrongful convictions under their predecessors. We have seats at the table, and that, my brother and sisters, is a great achievement in which we all share, but it's not enough. We must use our places in the rooms where the decisions are made, not focus on keeping and holding power, but to use that access and power to change things for the better, even if it involves a political risk. We must never rest and act as if things will be taken care of because we have elected so many of our own to positions of power. Electing our own people is not the end of our work. It is just the beginning. Now is not the time to rest, but to step up our activism in the NAACP to demand that all of the things we have been advocating for so long come to pass. This is our moment, as long as we are always fighting forward. I hope the workshops and other sessions and presentations will inform and inspire you with the work you do in your community, and I hope you will share with me the successes and challenges that we can still help each other to move forward. Thank you.